So it was almost 20 years ago that I was on a retreat out in Sedona, Arizona, and the man who was running the retreat, Hale Dwoskin, who's CEO of the Sedona Method. Um, he was sharing an experience that he had where he really started to embody the fullness of these teachings on non-duality, let's say, or embodiment of the divine, recognition of the truth of who you are, these types of things, these pointers. And what he shared was he went to the movie theater with his wife, and I think he mentioned the name of the movie. It might have been Batman. I don't remember exactly. But nonetheless, he's watching the movie, and he said his description of the experience was that his sense of self merged with the theater, the people around him, the screen, and the players on the screen, and the whole dynamic. And he was just the observer. And he said that it was incredibly profound, and he found it so enjoyable just to sit there and observe all of this. He said he'd never had a higher experience during a movie ever. And I had a similar experience recently, except there were a couple different parameters. And I wanted to share it because it started to translate into weaving into this more of this kind of I am the embodiment of all that is, and not on a crazy narcissistic or megalomaniacal type of idea, super egotistical or whatever, but it's a recognition and a sort of a surrendering into. So anyways, I'll just describe the experience. Been doing this visualization practice for some time, and I'm sitting there in the scene as I do, and I'm visualizing the scene, and just like a normal visualization, it's just particular content I'm paying attention to. The scene is like a lake, and I'm watching the scenery doing its thing. And so what happens is this energy starts to build within me as I'm really like I'm dropping down into levels, because that's what this visualization practice and meditation and visualization tends to drop us down into deeper levels of mind. So like you cross through into alpha brain waves, and then deeper into theta, and even delta can be accessed consciously with practice. But these are all, they're gradients as well, right? So there's like different levels to the frequencies. All theta is not theta. It's you slip into it, then you're fully immersed, and then you're moving out of it into something deeper, and this kind of thing. But nonetheless, I feel this energy building within me, like rising, just kind of like a kriya, an expression of energy rising in the body. Just wants to move, right? It's building up a little bit for whatever reason. It wants to move. And so I feel this, and I'm just allowing it. I'm just allowing it to build and build. I'm not reacting to it, not trying to force it, do anything to it. I've learned over the years that is not the way. And so, but I'm just allowing an opening to it, but I'm really just paying attention to my visualization, seeing the scene. So as this energy starts to build to a cusp, almost like a breaking point, I can feel it, it's getting ready to burst forth. And I allow it to do so. And as I do, the energy releases into my vision, into the scene. It releases and merges with the lake, with the trees, with the leaves, with all the nature scenery, and with my own self and my body. And the experience was that this energy was my self energy, the energy of the felt sense of who I am. I sometimes call it your I amness, your felt sense of being, your sense of being what you are. It's a very self-embodied feeling, huh? Like you know that you are. You are a self of some sort. You don't know what that is, maybe. You have ideas, but the energy itself is the real thing. This is like, yes, this is who I am. So you can imagine that as this energy built, I didn't realize it was self energy at the time. I was just feeling energy building, but I'm focused on the vision. But as it broke through and I allowed it and I released it I just released it. But then I felt it pouring into the vision, and it became a conscious endeavor. And I allowed it to fully move in and merge with it, and I became the entire scene. And I was not just the scene, I was also myself, sitting there, observing it in my body, within the scenery, fully immersed. Like 3D, 4D, 5D, fully in there. And all of it, all at once. And it was quite profound because it gave me this sense of, holy shit, this is everything I've always wanted. That was the feeling that came along with it. It was such bliss and such joy and such wholeness and connection that just broke free and exploded. And it was like, wow, like I'm doing this visualization practice so I can develop myself, so that I can make improvements in myself and my life and things like that, and develop skills and all this sort of thing, explore all that. But I realized in that moment, this is what I was actually wanting. This feeling of being fully immersed, fully one with, fully joined, immersed, merged with, united, not separate, all of it. And still my own self, not losing that sense of self, but no sense of separation. Such incredible bliss. So nonetheless, came out of the visualization, and then in the subsequent weeks, I began to sort of try to cultivate that experience. I tried to immerse myself into the visualization as best I could, with varying degrees of success. I'll tell you, it hasn't really quite been that intense as it was that first time, but it's been good. And what has also been happening since then is that I've noticed this same sense of my self-energy building and releasing, but pouring forth into the everyday, external, apparently external world, and merging with it in my felt sense. And still maintaining my sense of self, of course, but all the separation drops away, and this feeling of wholeness and completion, wonder, joy, bliss, appreciation. And it reminds me of the state that Baba used to describe, Baba Muktananda, when he would talk about the Lord dwells within you as you. The same self occupies all space, and is the same self peering through countless pairs of eyes. And the divine forms herself into what is the hang on she shapes herself into countless forms. Yes, the same one. And it just tracks along with all those, and it also tracks along with simulation theory, which is really why, that's come up, I'm sure, and has really been appealing to me and calling me since I've been sort of cursorily skirting around it for a while, but then about a year ago, I guess, is when it really started. I discovered Donald Hoffman and began reading his books, and I found that this wasn't just an idea that people had, like I had this idea, but there were actually people actively working to investigate it and create proofs and things like that and gather evidence. So in any case, that's where we're at, and that's what seems to be happening. So I'm becoming the simulation. I think we already are the simulation, but to become the simulation consciously seems and feels like seems like the direction I'm heading. That's the visceral sense of my experience more and more, is that I'm becoming the world in the sense that my sense of self is not just contained within my body, but that it is infinite energy, and we contain it habitually, because this is the way we see the world and we see ourselves, but that's just a habit. It doesn't have to be that way. And when we're able to let it go and be unwithheld with our self-energy, that self-energy will naturally flow into the all that is and merge with it. So anyways, hope that was interesting, and I did a good enough job explaining the process, the experience itself, and its meaning. And hopefully maybe some of you guys have had some similar experiences. I'd love to hear about it. Or if you want to know more about some of these practices, which can help prime the mind and body for experiences like this, for a reshaping and a reshifting of the psyche, the paradigms that we live within, and ultimately how we're able to act. Because, if you think about it, you will always act according to the paradigm that you're in. So whatever worldview, you're not just going to, like, taking flight is not going to be an option that comes up because you're not in a paradigm, whether we can do that or not. I'm just using that as an example. We're not in a paradigm, probably not anyways, where that is a reality, a likely possibility, or a capacity that you have. So you don't even consider that as an option. But as our paradigm widens and the aperture opens, what is possible in terms of what we can choose becomes much greater. And we have more and more available for our experience, including creating a life which is amazing without it having to suck on the way to get there. So that's one of the things I've definitely been exploring and moving towards, and that's been my paradigm for some time. It's like I recognize that it's juxtaposed against a lot of what's common wisdom, which is basically like you have 24 hours in a day. How much effort can you put in? Can you outwork everyone else to get the result that you want? And to me, that just never really sat well. I mean, if you're impassioned and it's really like it's all creative energy and you're loving it and enjoying it, then yes, absolutely. And I have periods of time where that happens, but it's not always like that. And that's not the only way to create. And I think trying to force that all the time, I've observed that it creates a lot of problems, and people end up not really enjoying and being very, very stressed out. And it's like, I've noticed this with myself in the past, where it's like, I've got a great life compared to what I wanted like 20 years ago, let's say, but why don't I enjoy it as much? I should be more grateful. I should feel gratitude for this very breath, but I don't. What's wrong? And it's because my mind was thinking that my happiness is still somewhere else. So you don't enjoy the breath of the moment. Anyways, slight tangent there, but love you guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on another talk soon. All right, take care.